I'm a big fan of everything should have its place.
Mhm.
Obviously, a lot of the times it doesn't go there, but
Yeah.
I do think I like what you say about what you were saying about systems, because I don't think we tend to think of that with our homes.
Mhm.
But I think it's such an important thing that we have a system or different systems in place. When you do this, it goes here. When you do this,
Yeah.
it goes there. And that way I think it definitely keeps things more
Yeah.
organized.
Yeah. Habit stacking is one of the big things that I talk about. Um, more and more is if you're doing this already, then you might as well do this. If you're waiting for your coffee, put the dishes away. If you're like that's one of those system things that can make a huge difference. And it's totally customizable to how you live in your house and stuff.
Welcome to Her Unshakeable Confidence with dynamic mother-daughter duo Simone and Olivia Knego, where they discuss the secrets of transformation and how to build bold confidence and unwavering resilience. From intimate conversations with inspiring guests to sharing their personal journeys of triumph and challenge, Simone and Olivia create a supportive space where every woman is encouraged to rise above her fears and love the woman in the mirror. Tune into Her Unshakeable Confidence and join this special journey of connection and growth. It's like catching up with old friends who inspire you to be bravely and uniquely you.
Welcome to this week's episode of Her Unshakable Confidence. This is our first time under this new brand name. We're very excited. I'm Simone Knego.
And I'm Olivia Knego.
And today we have a special guest with us, and I'd like to introduce her. Shannon Acheson is an author, entrepreneur, content creator, interior decorating and organizing expert, and the creative force behind homemadelovely.com, a celebrated blog helping moms declutter, organize, and add style to their homes since 2010. She has collaborated with 100 plus brands, including Home Depot, Lowe's, and Starbucks, transforming spaces with her creative vision. Shannon's acclaimed book, Homemade Lovely, and podcast, along with her popular blog, inspires tens of thousands each month. Featured in prominent media outlets, her work has garnered 19 million page views, solidifying her influence in the home design and organizing world. Welcome, Shannon. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me.
And this is exciting for us because this is the relaunch of our podcast that we've had for over a year now. I think we're on episode 57, 58.
Yeah.
And
Awesome.
we're really excited to kind of align what we talk about on a regular basis to the actual name of the podcast.
Mhm.
And so our goal is to bring women, every woman is a strong woman, the way I see it, onto our podcast to kind of share their wisdom. And so we're excited that you're here with us today.
Thank you. Congratulations on your rebrand and renaming and aligning everything. That's awesome.
Yeah,
Thank
thank you.
you.
And it worked out, like the name was available. I was like, oh,
That's
okay.
perfect.
I know. How often does that happen?
Amazing. Meant to be for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So as I was walking around my house today, I was like, I need my home to be made lovely. That's what I was thinking. And I love my
It
home,
looks lovely.
but we just had this huge storm come through Florida, and we have a roof leak. So
Oh,
that's ugly.
Yeah.
And
Well,
yeah.
so we have stuff like moved all over the place. I mean, it is what it is. We're very fortunate. I mean, there's a lot of people in our community where the flooding was so horrific that they still can't get in or out of their homes. It's
Wow.
literally, yeah, it's awful.
Wow.
So, but I want to know more about what you do and
Mhm.
why you're passionate about this.
Um, I really think this is something that settled in a long time ago when my kids were little. They are, 19, 21, and 24 now. So long time ago when they were little, that I believe that home is kind of the most important place on earth. It's one of those, it's the space where you can go, or you should be able to go and be yourself and rest and relax and maybe even share that space with other people, family, friends, whatever. So yeah, my real passion is like home matters. How your home functions matters, how your home looks matters. And so that's really the basis for everything. And I feel like a lot of times that's just not how home is, or it could use a little tweaking to make it, that much better and that much more of a good space.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. Right now, I just moved into my apartment a month ago, and
Mm.
the entire building is dealing with a fly issue. And
Oh.
I am like so not at ease when I'm at home right now
Mhm.
because like even a little piece of dust in the air, I'm thinking, oh my gosh, there's another fly. And I
Yeah.
swear it's like the bane of my existence. But
Yeah.
usually I think we were raised in a family where home is like it is everything in a way. We were all homebodies. Like every single one of my siblings and I would much prefer to be home. And I would
Yeah.
say you and mom too, or you and dad too, mom.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
Although
And
it definitely wasn't as organized.
no, I mean, we, okay, 6 kids, at one point, 4 dogs. Like it is hard
That's a
to
lot.
keep
Yeah.
things organized. And even today, as I was walking through, I was like, why is this not put away? And
Mhm.
I'm part of the problem, right? Like I'll be doing like 10 things at once. And I'm like,
Yeah.
focus on the task at hand, get it done, put it away, move on. But I
Yeah.
think it's something hard to do that there's always so much going on and that it's
Yeah.
not always, I always say that I live in my home. So,
Yeah.
but I can tell you right now, I do have this feeling of unease because of the roof leaking and thinking, oh my
Mhm.
gosh, how much damage is being done. I mean, we know
Mhm.
we're replacing the roof, but they can't get to it till December. We're right in the middle of
Gosh.
hurricane season.
Right.
So, and there's other things that we wanted to do around the house, which obviously we're not going to do until that all
Right.
gets fixed up.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy how, no matter how big or how small, we had a roof leak when we first moved to this house. The shingles were just old and there was a miscommunication between our inspector and us, and so that sort of put a damper on things literally when we first moved in. And then we had some ice damming at one of our other houses and, the ceiling like bubbled down
Mm,
and everything. And it's amazing how anything off in your home, but in this case specifically that this is a temporary thing, right? Like
Mhm.
it's not going to be like this forever. And as frustrating and um I don't know, sad or, depressing or whatever it is that is making you feel, it is temporary and it does go away. But I think what you said earlier too, like 6 kids, 4 dogs at one point, all of that, it is hard to keep a home tidy and organized. And I think, I mean, even for me as the so-called expert, like I have 3 adult children living here right now. Like
mm.
I'm pretty sure the 3 of them just made their own lunches upstairs. And I'm pretty sure I'm going to go back upstairs out of my office after this, and the kitchen's not going to be clean. Like, you know, we're people. It's hard to be consistent. It's hard
Mhm.
to do that. And so, in my opinion, though, the more systems and the more organization you have in place, the less impactful stuff like that is. Do you know what
Mhm.
I mean? The easier it is to later, when you have the brain space or the energy to go and put something away or load the dishwasher or whatever, like the more you've got it in place instead of just complete chaos, the easier it is because life will happen and you should live in your home. I'm not this is a model home and this is what
Mhm.
this is, it should look like this, but nobody lives here kind of thing. Absolutely not. You live in your house. That's just how it is and it should be.
I'm a big fan of everything should have its place.
Mhm.
Obviously, a lot of the times it doesn't go there, but
Yeah.
I do think I like what you say about what you were saying about systems because I don't think we tend to think of that with our homes. Like,
Mhm.
but I think it's such an important thing that we have a system or different systems in place. When you do this, it goes here. When you do this,
Yeah.
it goes there. And that way I think it definitely keeps things more
Yeah.
organized.
Yeah. Habit stacking is one of the big things that I talk about. Um, more and more is if you're doing this already, then you might as well do this. If you're waiting for your coffee, put the dishes away. If you're like that's one of those system things that can make a huge difference. And it's totally customizable to how you live in your house and stuff. But yeah, we think of it in terms of business or other things, right? But not
Yeah.
always in terms of how our home functions.
I'm going to think about it a lot more now. Every time I'm doing laundry or whatever.
Mm.
My mom walked in today and she says, "This is how I'm going to remember you. Always doing laundry." And I was like,
Thanks, Mom.
My
what do I
God.
I know. I was like, what am I going to say to that? I mean, yes, I do a lot of laundry, but I was like, that's how you're going to remember me?
It's
I was
such a
like,
grandma comment. Also, grandma does laundry. Grandma
she loves
likes to do
laundry. She
laundry.
loves
That's
it.
just a weird
Maybe
comment for her to
that's why.
say.
Yeah.
Maybe that's why, because she likes it.
Yeah.
It's a happy memory for her.
Yeah.
And it's so funny because she she does not have systems in place for her stuff,
Mm.
right? Like she's got stuff everywhere, even though like it looks like it's kind of organized because everything's put in a drawer, but she has no idea what's in the drawers, you know?
Yes. Yep. Yeah. No, yep. I have family like that too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I want to talk a bit about your new course, which is
Mhm.
very exciting. And I feel like
Yeah.
I have to join in on this one because more style, less mess sounds exactly like what I
Mhm.
need. So tell us about the course. Tell us about what it involves and all the
Yeah.
aspects.
I've taught, so more style, less mess is, it'll be a video course and, but it'll be in sort of step-by-step bite-sized pieces. The way I've taught things before is sort of like, here's an organizing thing, here's a decorating thing, here's a like individual things. But I think a lot of times what gets missed with that is that the steps kind of need to be done in order. You have to figure out how to be grateful for your home. So the 5 steps are, embrace gratitude. So figure out how to love the home you have before you change anything about it. Figure out how to appreciate it at the very
Mhm.
least. And then declutter, because you can't organize or decorate clutter. Like you've got to clear stuff out. You've got to breathe that breath of fresh air into your home and make space. And then you can organize. You can create places for things to go when you know what's important to you and what you're keeping. Then the home habits part, the establishing, when I do this, then I do this, so that things go back and it's so much easier. It's not, you don't have to do it perfectly. And there will be life seasons where it doesn't go that
Mhm.
great and the things become a mess. But if you've got that in place already, you can go back to it so much easier. And then you decorate, because I find a lot of times people jump to the decorating and they're like, well, how come my house still doesn't look the way I want it to? And how come it still doesn't function the way I want it to, even though I bought all these, pretty little tchotchkes and pretty little decor items at like Home Goods or Target or whatever. And so there's a step-by-step process to it. And it just really, sort of dawned on me in the last year or so that even if you have to focus less on one of those or two of those than someone else does, you kind of still need to see the whole picture, and you need to know this happens, then this, in order for your home to function better and be organized and to look the way that you want it to, even, regardless of, how much money you have or any of that. Like there's a process for it. So more style, less mess covers all of that, but in such a way that it's not like crazy overwhelming and you can come back to it again and again, when you get into one of those life seasons where you need a little refresher on how to do XYZ or whatever. So I'm really excited to launch it and offer it to my community.
It's amazing. Olivia, what do you think is the hardest part of those 5 steps?
Decluttering.
Yep, I knew you were going to
Yeah.
say that.
I struggle with it so much. And
Mhm.
I was thinking about what I do actually while you were speaking. And I recently did a big move. I
Mhm.
was in New York City for undergrad, and now I'm in Nashville for
Wow.
postgraduate school. And my method was, if I haven't seen it in a while, it's just going in a trash bag. Like
Sure.
that was the easiest thing for me. It wasn't even like, don't go through anything. You're going to want to keep on holding on to things that you don't need, and it's just going to be added stress. I just threw a lot away, which is obviously not the best. It's wasteful, but I couldn't mentally do it. I'm so bad with clutter, even in my room back at home, which I haven't lived in 5 years
It's
now.
ridiculous.
It's so much stuff, and I swear I need all of it. I think my biggest issue is clothes.
Mm.
Um, and I mean, I do have a bit of a fashion background. I have a minor
Okay.
in fashion. It's really
Okay.
like not that much, but have this mindset where it's like, well, what if I need it in the future? And I
Mhm.
hold on to that mindset with majority of my things. Like, I don't I don't even know what's in that room, mom. And I don't really want to know what's in
Well, you're
that
not
room.
going to know, and I'm just starting to declutter it. So
Yeah,
you won't even
just
know that anything's
no,
missing.
and that's probably yes. I struggle with organizing a whole ton. I had one of my best friends in college loves to do it. And so when it get really bad, she would just go in my room and do it for me. And now
Nice.
that I live away from her, I'm trying to keep on top of these systems. It's
Right.
just not fun, I would say.
Yeah. Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. It's not necessarily, there are some very unique individuals who it is fun for, but for the majority of people, it's not fun. It's not something to look forward to. It's stressful to have to choose, okay, will I need this? Will I not need this? Um, what you did when you left New York, you said, I think.
Yeah.
When you left New York, that makes sense. You didn't have the brain space to actually look through everything, and that's okay. I mean, is it better to donate a bunch of stuff? Sure. However, based on timing, based on where you were, based on, your headspace, that doesn't always happen.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And one good rule of thumb is if you haven't used it in 6 months to a year, all the seasons go around depending on where you live, you probably don't need it, and you probably won't need it again. Right. And another question to ask yourself is, how hard would it be should I happen to need it at some indeterminate place in the future? How hard would it be, and how much would it cost me to replace it? If
Yeah,
it's not like a crazy amount, then just part with it, because it's
I
causing
think
you
that's
more
a
stress
great rule
holding
of
on to it.
thumb. I think that's a
Mhm.
really, really good rule of thumb if you're able to get it again. Like,
Right.
it's just not worth the stress of keeping it.
Right.
Yeah.
Where
I
yes.
struggle with it.
Yeah, no, that's fair. A lot of people do.
And what do you think, Shannon, is the
Mm.
biggest struggle for people when they're talking about organizing, making their home the way they think they want it? What do you come across as really what people struggle with the most?
I have polled and sort of surveyed my audience over the years, and it's most definitely, the straight up first answer is always clutter, because they just like, it's, there's, not loving their home, there's the organizing, there's decorating and stuff in there, but clutter itself is like the biggest thing. And really, there are, in my count, there's about 10 reasons people collect clutter. Um, some of it just is, one of the huge ones is, what if I need it later? That's a huge one. Um, my husband in his garage, that's, his every scrap of wood and every bit would like, what if I could use it later? And, truth be told, for him, some of that stuff has come in handy on some repair project or something. But, then there's the extreme, and it's like, well, we haven't touched this in like 3 moves. Like, it's still in a box. Like, pretty sure we can part with it then. Sentimental clutter stops people up a lot too, right? Because they feel there's so many emotions tied to that. So, my recommendation with that is, don't start with that. Start with your other clutter first until you sort of get those, achievements and wins of doing some good decluttering out, like, and you feel like you've made some progress, and then deal with the sentimental stuff. Yeah, those are typically the 2 biggest reasons. Other stuff is like, people give you too many gifts, or, a lot of times parents will pass along stuff to their kids, not necessarily sentimental, just here's your stuff, here's some stuff, here's stuff I don't want anymore, and just drop it off. And it's like, oh, wow, thanks.
That
So,
happens quite frequently in our house. I
yeah,
love my mom, but she
yeah.
loves to bring anything she doesn't want, she brings it over. And I'll be
Mhm.
like, well, I don't really have a use for that. And she's like, well, that's okay. You can donate it. And she's like, I just can't bring myself to do it. So she
Right.
feels like if she brings it to me, and then she's brought me ridiculous stuff. And some of it I get sentimental value, like her first
Mm,
outfit that she wore for her medical school interview. She brought me
mm,
that.
right.
This big pot, not even a pot. Yeah, it's kind of like, it looked like a planter pot, but
Okay.
that her dad used to make homemade wine in,
Oh, goodness.
And
Yeah.
like,
Wait,
what
what
am I
happened
going to
to
do with
that?
these things? I don't really know.
Oh, okay. My favorite that she brought over a bat mitzvah cookie from my mom's bat mitzvah 40 years later.
Wow.
30 years later. I won't age you like that, Mom.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was, everybody knows how old I am. I'm 52. I'm still 52, right?
Yeah, 40 years later
Yeah.
would be older than you are.
Oh, that's right. You are aging me. Yeah, and it was still a cookie. That was the scary part. It was like a
Wow.
monogrammed cookie. It was still a cookie. I was like, we should not
Wow.
be eating those kinds of things.
No, probably not.
So she is she really
Yeah.
she doesn't like to get rid of anything. And I get it. She grew up in a time where she didn't have anything. So it's
Yeah.
very hard to part ways. It's funny, and not funny, but it's real. My son Ari, who is 20 now, we adopted him when he was 4.5. This is the first year he truly cleaned out his closet, and
Mm.
to the point where he would save every shoebox, Like, and he had stacks and stacks of boxes, not because they were decorative, but he just didn't know how to let go. And all of a sudden this year he's like, let's clean my closet. And I was like,
Wow.
are you okay? Like, this is a big
Wow.
deal. I mean, going off
Yeah.
to college, I guess that was part of it, but I was impressed. So
That's awesome.
yeah.
Yeah, that's
But
good. Yeah, I mean, one of the things that I suggest for sentimental things or things that people don't feel like they can get rid of is to take pictures of it.
mm,
I mean, we've all got the cloud, we've all got like practically infinite picture storage at this point, right? So if you take pictures of it, you can still look at it if you want to. You can still, I mean, you don't have to take a picture, you could just remember it, but some of us are so much better with seeing things,
mhm.
right? And so if you take a picture of it, it's still there. You can still look at it, but you don't have to have the physical space in your home for it.
I have to ask, how are your kids with clutter and I guess their organization techniques?
Um, the three of them are very different.
Okay.
My oldest is great at it. If I say, okay, you have to do this. Like, I mean, it's been a while. He's 24, so I don't go in their rooms. Let's just say that. He's good at it when he's sort of prompted to do it. The middle one is the very much artsy, creative, things everywhere, needs to see all the things. Which should be interesting because we're talking about having one of her longtime friends move in with us for college this year, and they'd be sharing a room. So that would be very interesting. But she's good if we get things in place where she can see things and put them back still. So like a closed closet is terrible for her, but an open clothing rack in her room is great because then she can see what she's got and she remembers to hang stuff up. And then the youngest is super organized and she has the smallest room out of everybody. She was little when we moved here, but she like frequently reorganizes and tidies and all of that stuff. So they're all very, very different.
It's amazing, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So it's interesting for sure.
So when you think about motherhood and entrepreneurship, like, do you find like that you can balance things? Because when people ask me about balance, I always say I'm either doing more on this end or more on this end. Like, I don't necessarily feel like I can do a 50-50 split any day of my life.
Yeah, no, I think that's a bit of an illusion, honestly, to have a perfect 50-50 split all the time. Mentally, like in actual time wise, I think there are seasons where you focus more on one than the other. I actually homeschooled my kids for a lot of years, so my focus was very, very different than it is now that they're, one of them works for me and does classes online. One's in college and one's working. Like it's very, very different now. And even when I was homeschooling them, it was very different when they were babies. And I always had some sort of business, the whole time that they were little. And so I think there's balance in the overarching of all of it, where you go, okay, I've spent a bunch of time maybe working on this big project. It's done, it's complete. Let's go spend a bunch of family time together kind of thing. Like, I think overarching there can be balance, but I think on a day by day, minute by minute, it's not a 50-50 balance, not in my opinion.
Yeah. Yeah, that's something that I agree with you. I just feel like there's give and take all of the time, that if I'm
Always.
working on a new speech, I'm focused on that, and
Yeah.
they'll be calling my name. I'll be like, what? Huh?
Yeah.
Actually, it's gotten to the point, it's been like this for a while. I shouldn't say gotten to the point, but they will say, mom, 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 Simone. And,
Yeah.
and that's when I'll respond.
Yeah.
Because when you hear it 5,000 times a day, you're just like,
Yeah.
it can't be that important.
True. There you go.
Yeah. I actually am really bad about it too. I live with my boyfriend now, and when I'm focused on something, I like cannot get out of the zone, and he'll have to be like, I asked you a question 5 minutes ago. And I was like, no, you didn't hear it. Didn't
I
happen.
heard nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you've been on the internet since 2010.
Yes, ma'am.
Wow.
Yeah.
And so you've been through all of it.
Yeah. Close to it. Yeah. Like this, pretty much this near the start of Pinterest, the start of Instagram, TikTok, like all of it. Yeah.
How have you dealt with all of those changes? I mean, I can hardly keep up, and I'm just a consumer.
In various ways, sometimes kicking and screaming, quite honestly.
Yeah.
And sometimes going, oh, this is awesome and it's so much better. But I think the only way that I've been able to manage it is that, like, I'm kind of like, I am an entrepreneur at heart. And with that comes constant change, constant adaptation. You know, and I'm in a good place with it right now, right? I figured out, I've got a system. I've got how to, you know, make it work for me as best as it can. You know, if you'd asked me that a year or two ago, I would have been like, man, some of this stuff really sucks.
Yeah.
So it's a bit of a roller coaster. But you know, it's always going to change. It's such a new industry, I guess I want to say, that, you know, it's not established. There's not a long record to look at. And so change is kind of just how it is, you know?
Yeah. And like as a content creator, I think especially within the home, the home genre of content, how do you keep up with the short nature of trends? Because I know that even just as a consumer, the way it's in and out, both within home fashion, even like within food trends, it's kind of crazy now.
Yeah. Truthfully, I'm not a big fan of trends, honestly.
Me neither.
If my recommendation, you know, for home stuff, my advice is always, if you love a trend, find a way to implement it in a semi-permanent, not permanent way in your home. So if you really love a color, use a throw pillow of a color or a pattern or something, right? Like chevron was like this massive thing, like, I don't know, 10 years ago when you know, okay, well, don't like go and do all your floors in some wild chevron print or even paint your walls, because that's a lot of work to paint over. You can, but like make sure it's something that's not permanent.
Yeah.
Whether you plan to stay in your home or sell it, that's beside the point. It's trends will change and you don't want to be stuck with something unless you truly, truly love it. Don't bother with it. Like I never predict trends. I never go, oh, this is the coolest thing. Like you have to have like, I just recorded a video on them. Like, these are the decor staples you need to have, but it's not trendy. It's, you know, candles, trays, you know, like it's stuff that's standards that's been around for a long time. So I'm not a big fan of trends, except once in a while I'll like one, but then I'll use it in a not permanent way in my house.
How would you describe your own personal like home style?
It has changed over the years. For a long time, I'd say farmhouse, like Joanna Gaines-esque kind of farmhouse. We still actually have a bunch of shiplap in our house, which, I mean, it's painted white. It just adds interest to the wall. And like that I like, but it's also, I can take it down if my husband put it up in a way such as we can take it down should we decide to. So my personal style, it's a lot of organic and sort of neutral earthy colors. I still have it available actually, a style quiz that sort of gave names to them for the standard styles that there were, but they changed so fast too, just like everything else. Like now there's like, what is it? Granny core or something like that, right? Like that didn't exist a few years ago. Yeah. So my style is comfortable and cozy and, organic, earthy sort of colors.
Yeah. I think the labeling of the styles is also just feeding into the trend thing, because if you even like looking at the Coastal Grandma, it's just like elevated beach core.
Yeah. Right.
So it's no
just
different.
A new name for.
Yeah. It's really no different than your aunt that had like the beach themed bathroom.
Right.
I would say my personal style, I mean, I think I'm still defining it. This is the first time I've like lived in an apartment where I've been responsible for decorating, but I would say eclectic.
Yes. Okay.
Which comes back down to not wanting to let go of my clutter. So finding ways to display all of my clutter in ways that look like art, which I think I've been pretty successful with. Like 2 weeks ago, I made a DIY art hanging that out of all these matches that I've collected from various restaurants. So I was like, okay, I'm getting rid of it while making art.
Right. It's not like they're stuffed in a drawer somewhere just taking up space. You took those memories or whatever is attached to that and made something of it that you can display. That's awesome. I love that.
Yeah.
And she took all of my old corks. I shouldn't say all of them because I stopped keeping them because, you know, you're either, you know, you're a hoarder and you're an alcoholic at the same time because, you know, you have this massive thing of corks. But she took them and made them into this beautiful cork board. And I have a few more to send you because they're almost done. Yes.
Because that's another thing. I'm really bad with, okay, it'll stay in a spot, even that's not the right spot for something, and it'll stay there forever and that'll become its spot. So that cork board, I haven't hung it up yet because it's not done.
You didn't hang it up yet.
I know, but I rewired the back actually. I finally did that, but I still haven't even hung it up. And now it's like its permanent spot is on my floor, along with the books of boxes for law school sitting right next to it, which because I haven't gotten a bookshelf.
Right.
Sounds like
It
you got a couple
happens.
things to do.
Yeah.
A work in progress.
Yeah.
Um,
I think life in general is a work in progress.
Yes.
Finding
Yeah.
your style is a work in progress because it'll change. Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny when you talk about style. I don't even know what my style is. I mean, our house itself was originally considered contemporary, but a
Mhm.
lot of the furniture I have, especially, I mean, we still have like the old school dining room and our living room and all of that furniture, not all of it. It's like a mix of stuff. So we have a lot of antiques from my grandmother, like these
Mm.
huge buffets from that she brought from France. And I don't know. I was like, I'll just take them because it saves me a lot of money. And now I
Yeah.
like them, like, because
Yeah.
it's definitely, it's probably weird. I don't know, to have like all these different kinds of things going on in there. But
If you like it,
yeah.
it doesn't matter. It's your house.
And then if you
Like
go in
that's,
my,
yeah.
yeah. I think that's one of the biggest things to remember is that you have to like it, right? If you want to feel
Yeah.
comfortable in your home, you got to like what's in there
Yeah.
and what's hanging on the walls.
Yeah. Don't let anybody else. That's the other thing too, with it's sort of pivoting off the trends thing a little bit within it. When people say, the top 10 trends or top 10 decor things that are out in, 2024, I'm like, for the love, if people still like it, who are you to tell them or make them feel bad? Like, no.
I had someone say to me, I was wearing skinny jeans. She's like, skinny jeans are out. I was like,
Oh
I don't
gosh.
care. I was like,
Yeah.
I'm still gonna wear them. I like them.
That's a weird thing to say to someone.
I feel good in them.
I know.
know.
I
I
love
don't-
my skinny jeans. You're gonna have
Yeah.
to pry those out of my cold dead hands. I'm
Yep,
telling you.
exactly.
But yeah, no, I've heard the same thing. And I'm like my daughters don't currently wear them, but I'm like, I am also 48 and you're like 20 something. If I want to wear them, if you want to wear them, by all means, go ahead. But they don't feel like they look good in them. I'm like, well, guess what? I'm keeping them.
Yep. I like them.
I wear skinny
I look at
jeans,
'em.
but I wear them for work or like business occasions.
Yeah.
I also don't wear a whole lot of jeans unless I'm going to something formal. I wear a lot of sweatpants. So
Oh yeah. Sweatpants and tights for me.
Hello,
too.
leggings.
Jeans
Hello,
are like dressing up.
leggings. I know,
Yeah.
right? And it's so funny. I know this is totally off topic, but I will all of a sudden be wearing like a decent shirt and jeans. And my younger kids will be like, oh my God, where are you going? You're so dressed up. And I was like, that's pretty bad if that's what you think, but okay. It always
Can you do?
cracks
I
me
know.
up.
I get the same reaction on video shoot days when I go to shoot like my YouTube video and stuff. The kids are like, wow, you look nice. I'm like, what does that imply the rest of the week?
Exactly. So a bit of advice. So someone who wants to be more organized, less clutter, but they don't feel like they have the time, is there a place they should start?
I would start, there's a couple places you can start. So there's a few methods you can use. I mean, you can set aside a weekend and like power through like a major cleanup in a weekend. Or you can sort of take 10 or 15 minutes at a time and go, okay, here's a timer. I'm going to set the timer for 10 or 15 minutes and I'm going to go through this drawer. And when the timer goes off, I'm going to stop where I'm at and put things back and either restart there the next time or move on. It really just depends on how much of a mess your house is and how quickly you need, either for function in your life or mentally, how quickly you need to get it cleaned up, right? So if it's something that like it's a big mess, but you really need it to function because I don't know, you've adopted kids and you're bringing them home and you need to like have the space. So then you would power through a weekend, right? You would make sure you set that aside. If you've got time and it's sort of just back there in the back of your mind and it's bugging you, do the drawer thing or start with surfaces that you can see. Declutter those first, and that will sort of take some of the mental load off of you if you declutter the spaces you can see a lot or spaces you use a lot. So you just have to weigh the how stressed am I with this? How much time can I carve out to try and fix it?
Mm-hmm. And I think that makes a lot of sense. Like if I have something major coming up, like you're going to have 50 people at your house, right?
Yeah.
You're going to power through it and get it done. Now
Yeah.
I record, this room is actually my kids' old playroom, which obviously they don't need anymore. And it's a pretty big room. There's like tons of Legos in here. I'm like, I'm looking around right now thinking, what am I going to do with all this stuff?
Give it to us, probably.
Yeah. You're not going to want it though. Well, Emma will want the Legos for sure. I'm not worried about that. But, So this is okay because I have my little corner. And so you can't see that and it's not like it's a mess. There's just a lot of stuff that we don't need anymore.
Right.
And
Right.
it's getting them to be able to let go of it as well.
Right. Yeah. I mean, we parted with a lot of stuff as our kids. We also happened to move when our kids were sort of transitioning from, preteens into teenagers. So it was a good time to let go of some of that stuff. But we do, under the basement stairs in the furnace room, we have like a giant bin of Thomas the Tank Engine wooden trains, because those things are bloody expensive. So, we're holding on to those for our son, should he ever, or our daughters, should they ever have kids that want to play with them. We kept a few other things, but that was the biggest one. And we still actually, I think we have some Lego too, just because that's also expensive.
Yeah.
And if they're going to want it later, it's not like it's going to go bad. It's not going to go out of style. It's not going to, right? Like those are sturdy and they sort of stand the test of time. So if there's a potential, we've got room to store it for now. If we had to move into a much tinier house, maybe I'd question that a little bit.
Yeah.
But we've got room for it for now.
Yeah. I feel like I think I finally got rid of my VHS tapes. Like I had every Disney movie on
Yeah.
VHS and I was like, oh, that was a bad choice.
No. Yeah. I mean, we actually still have a few VHS videos and a VCR, but no one's used it for a long time. And I'm thinking if they don't actually use it soon, it's going to be gone. Cause I'm like, yo, we don't need this, but they really wanted us to hold on to it temporarily.
Yeah.
But again, it doesn't take up a lot of room in the basement family room right now. So it depends.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I'm curious because I know a lot of times people say when they are full into their work, they want to separate like home life from work life. And when your work life is all about building a home, how do you do that? Like, or do you not? Or do you just love it so much that you don't mind all of the stuff that comes with it?
All of the above at different times.
Okay.
It's been 14 years, right? So, we sort of have some house rules that help with that, because I recorded, like I said, a YouTube video and then all the social media and all that every week, once a week. And so the house rule, even aside from that, the house rule has always been the main floor at this house anyway, the main floor or the common living spaces that everybody sort of uses that isn't like the kids' space and the family room, like that sort of thing. So living room, dining room, kitchen, really, entryway has to stay clean. You can't leave your stuff lying around in it. If you want to hang out in there, totally fine. If I'm not recording or taking pictures or whatever. But when you're done, you take your books with you, you take your laptop with you, you take like your extra sweater or your dirty socks, whatever it is, you take those with you. And I mean, the same goes for pretty much for my husband and I as well. Like we don't leave our stuff lying around on the main floor just because that makes it easier for me to hop on and go, hey, like this is the video this week, blah, blah, blah. Sometimes in our previous homes, because we've lived at 3 houses actually while I've been doing this, the house was small and that wasn't a possibility. And so then things had to be picked up. And so it was on my mind a lot more because it took a lot more effort. My office used to be in the kitchen when I was homeschooling the kids because I needed to be nearby.
Right.
So that was annoying, truthfully, not that I needed to be nearby, but that I had a desk space in my kitchen with papers and a computer and all the things, right? So now that I have my office in the basement, that makes it much less difficult to work from home kind of thing. And I actually genuinely love working from home, and I love home and so much. I mean, we were just visiting my sister this weekend, and they're looking at moving, and she's like, well, do you want to look at the model home? I'm like, heck yes. Like my husband Dean and I, we'll go look at model homes for fun. Like, so I love home. So all of the above. Yeah. But for the most part, I love it so much that it's not a big deal to be here and still, think about work.
I feel inspired to implement a new system or rules in the house that the whole family room area has to have everything put away every day. Like I don't want the stuff out because that's the room we spend most of our time in.
Yeah.
It might be.
I think you
might be a
just
good
need to
thing
follow through with your threats of if it's left out, it gets thrown away.
Yeah, but half the time it's my stuff.
Oh, Well, that's on you,
So then
dog.
you need a couple baskets or something in there that you can sort of just stash your stuff in
Yeah.
there.
And then I forget it's
Have it
there,
nice.
and then I buy another one, and no,
Well,
I know.
yeah, fair.
I just need to do a little bit better on that. So on this show, one of the things, obviously, her unshakable confidence, we
Mm,
like asking about confidence and what does
mhm,
confidence mean to you? Because everybody has a different definition, but what does confidence mean to you? Because I think it does really come into play when you're creating your home, when you're
mhm. I
doing all
agree.
the things that you need to do so that you're comfortable at home.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. As far as like personal confidence goes, I think it's being comfortable in your own skin with who you are,
Mhm.
regardless of who you're with, right?
Mm,
Like
Yeah,
regardless of who you happen to be
yep.
around, that you're still you. I think that's confidence.
yeah.
Yeah.
I think we say that a lot of the BU part. Like, don't
Mhm.
change yourself. If you want to change something on yourself, change it for you. Don't
Right.
change it for anybody else. Right.
Right.
I think
Yeah,
that's always such an important thing to remember.
I agree.
So the way, and we didn't mention this ahead of time, but we always
Okay.
end our episode with Olivia reading from her. She has a fantastic calendar called
Unf yourself.
Unfuck
Gary
Yourself.
John Bishop,
Okay.
uh,
And it
which I
gives us a
actually,
great piece of advice every single time.
this has been ever since moving. This has kind of been tucked away into my little podcasting bag, so I need to pull it out and like leave it on the counter. Um, but we all feel fear, but it's not an excuse not to take action.
Hmm.
It's a simple one.
Yeah,
And I think
But it's
I think we
big.
can tie it into what everything we talked about today.
I
I mean,
completely agree.
I think a lot of people are afraid to declutter, to get organized, they're afraid what's going to happen if they make any kind of change.
Mhm.
I think
True.
one of my big fears with home decorating, organizing, cleaning is starting a project and not finishing it.
Mm.
I get distracted really easily, or I'll just like run out of time to do something. But, and then I feel like that's like prohibited me from like starting a lot of things because I'm not sure if I'll actually finish it.
Mm. It'll always be there when you come back to it.
That's a great way of thinking about it.
I always say that's what tomorrow is for,
Mhm.
because I remember when the kids were little, we lived next door to this couple who had older children. And, this was right when they were really little. There wasn't digital cameras readily available. So all of our pictures were, you had to print them and you threw away
Yeah.
most of them because they were all crappy. But then you had to find the time to put them in an album. And that's what she would always say, is that when your kids grow up, that's when you get to put them in the album, because that's when you'll
Mm.
take the time to really look back at all of the things. Because I'm like, there's no way I'm going to get this in an album. She's like,
Mm.
don't stress about it. There'll be time later. So I changed that
Yeah.
into that's what tomorrow's for.
That's awesome. I like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Puts less stress on us.
For
So
sure.
would love you to leave us with one last thought, one last piece of advice, and then tell everyone where they can find you.
My best advice for all the home stuff is you are the best person to do the things in your home, to do the organizing, to do the decorating. You know yourself and your family and your home best, how you function. So while you could hire it out potentially, I still think that you're the best person to do it. And learning how to do it will give you a boost of confidence for sure, too, knowing that you can choose the things to get rid of that don't serve you, knowing that you can organize well so your home functions, and knowing that you can make good decorating choices, you don't that create a home that you love and that you love to live in. I think, yeah, I think you being the person to learn those things and to do it is the best thing that could happen to your house. And to find me, you can always find me at homemadelovely.com. That's got links to everything else, including my YouTube channel, Instagram, Facebook, all of that. And I've got some really awesome like free classes and free guides and stuff like that there too.
And tell us a little bit more about when the course is launching. And I believe you're doing a free class. So I'd love to include all that in there as well.
Yeah, the free class is called Embrace Your Space, How to Create a Home You Love to Live In. And it is a live class. I haven't taught live for a while. So
Oh,
it's a
wow.
live, about a 1 hour class on Tuesday, August 20th at noon Eastern. There will be a replay recording of it that'll be available for a few days after, just in case you can't make it live or if you miss it or you want to watch it again. And then the course actually launches the same day. The More Style, Less Mess course will be available starting that day as well, August 20th. And then the cart will close, which means it won't be available again until next year after. So it closes at midnight on August 29th. That's a Thursday before the long weekend. So yeah, and then it won't be available again until next year. But
That's really exciting. Okay, we're going to try to be at the first class so that we can, well, I need a lot of help, so, you know.
Oh.
Well,
I'd love to see you there.
We will have everything in our show notes, and we are so happy that you joined us today. It was a really great conversation, something I think both Liv and I think about a lot and really kind of want to up our game. I would say it that way. Yeah. So
thank you so much for having me. I love talking to you guys.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. So thank you for joining us on Her Unshakable Confidence. We will see you next time.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to Her Unshakable Confidence with Simone and Olivia Knego. We hope this episode has made your day just a little bit brighter and given you the inspiration you need to confidently go about your week. Always remember to be authentically you. Don't forget to like and subscribe so you never miss an episode. And feel free to connect with them on Instagram at Simone Knego and at Olivia Knego. Till next time.